Have a seat.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Shall we call Ravindra?
Yes, sir.
Ravindra Kumar Gupta. So, Ravindra, you are from Gonda, Uttar Pradesh, and your optional is mathematics, and you have done your bachelor's in electrical engineering from IIT Delhi. You are fond of cricket and listening to TED Talks, and your preference you have given only as IAS, IPS, and IFS. You have already been appointed to IPS. You are serving. You are under training.
Sir, I am on leave.
You are on leave. You have taken 1 year leave.
Yes, sir.
But you have joined.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So naturally now the IPS is out of question, or because you are already an IPS. So now the only two preferences remain: IAS and IFS.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, what is your opinion about women joining the border security force and paramilitary forces, and particularly being posted at the border? What's your opinion?
Sir, gender equality has to be encouraged in all the spheres. So even border patrolling also includes that because of the Article 14. Also, sir, that would be making the perspective of border forces much more wider. And however, sir, issues like they may be subject to certain exploitation sexually, and the infrastructure at border areas are not that good for female to live in. So these are some of the concerns.
You are fond of TED Talks. What is the latest TED Talk that you have listened to?
So latest I was hearing to the Elon Musk, who was in TED Talk, and he was talking about certain issues he is facing regarding the Twitter.
Takeover of Twitter. Can you tell me what is the full form of TED?
Full form is Technology, Entertainment and Design.
So why was it technology, entertainment, design? But now we hear all kinds of talks, not only in technology, entertainment, design.
So the TED Talk has diversified itself, seeing the current developments in the technology and the culture of the nations. So initially it was restricted to the California and Silicon Valley talks related, because it was established in that area. However, it diversified when it was spreading throughout the world.
Okay. Now, for unorganized labor in this country, some measures were taken, and some for organized labor also. Can you give me two instances, one for the unorganized labor, one for the organized labor? Two major things which have been done by the government.
So for unorganized labor, I was recently reading about the Swanidhi scheme, so that street vendors could be given credit. That was very much in news, and it had helped a lot. Secondly, sir, for the organized labor.
And for unorganized labor, did they launch any particular app or so? Have you heard about that?
I think PASA app is there. Sorry, sir?
A portal.
I think PASA portal was launched for them, but I'm not sure, sir.
Have you heard about eShram?
Yes, sir. eShram portal, yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. What about organized labor?
So for organized labor, a lot of works were done. Firstly, the new labor codes were introduced, and various working conditions were also regularized, and minimum wages were fixed for them. And then government also started to make contributions of EPF from its own side, so that active employment can also rise.
Okay, all right. Now, the good governance principle, which a civil servant is expected to implement in the district. Now, a few ingredients or attributes of good governance, I'm going to ask you, what do you understand by that? Consensus building. What is consensus building? It is one of the 8 attributes.
So consensus building would be involving all the stakeholders and reaching towards an opinion, so that the principles of democracy are applied even in the decision making.
Can you give an example where this consensus building was not resorted to, and as a result there was a huge problem?
So I think the farm laws are the good example for that.
The second one is participatory. What do you mean by participatory?
So involving the various stakeholders in the decision making process. So
who are the stakeholders?
So for the government services, public is the biggest stakeholder.
Okay, all right. Civil society,
Yes, sir.
public, okay, the market.
Yes.
Thirdly, the third thing which are inclusivity. What do you mean by inclusiveness or inclusivity?
Sir, it is basically inspired by the Gandhiji's talisman that the last person in the queue should not be left behind. So government should include even that person in all the decision making and welfare approach.
Linked to that question is, what is the difference between Sarvodaya and Antyodaya? And who started this? Who coined the word Sarvodaya?
Sir, Sarvodaya means the upliftment of all the people who are present in the nation, and Antyodaya means upliftment of the most marginalized section of the society.
Okay. So that means ki Sarvodaya should be brought about keeping Antyodaya in mind.
Yes, sir.
My last question again related to good governance is, what do you understand by responsiveness? Again, it's a part of the good governance. And what do you think you can do if you become collector to improve responsiveness of the administration?
So since most of the government services are related to the public, and the experience and outcome of any service is best judged by the person who is receiving it. So government should be catering to the demands of public. So how good is the grievance redressal system? That would be under the responsiveness.
Thank you, Ashok ji.
You just talked about Twitter.
Yes, sir.
Twitter is being taken over by Elon Musk, you know very well. Now, after being taken over, it has almost been done. What do you think Twitter will shape as? How will it work? Will it be the same as before, or will there be a drastic change? And what?
Sir, I could get some points from the TED talk I watched. So there he said that he would be trying to introduce an edit button so that people can edit their tweets. So secondly, he said that he would be firing the board and saving a lot of money that is given as salary to the board, because he didn't think that they were functioning effectively. Thirdly, he said that a lot of spam bots are there on the Twitter who trend anything they want. So he also is trying to, he suggested that authentication of users should be on Twitter. And fourthly, sir, he said that a lot of moderation is done by Twitter. So the free speech that he's trying to bring in, that would be implemented.
How will it affect India? The Indian government has had a serious fight with Twitter on free speech. What is free and what is not?
So we are seeing that a lot of tweets that were made by even the central government minister were highlighted as inappropriate or changed tweet. So and government has asked Twitter to take down such certain tweets that were promoting hatred. So there were a lot of non-compliance from Twitter side, saying, and they were also claiming the rights and entitlements as a intermediary as well as
All
moderating.
that is known. Now what will happen?
Now,
After being privatized, the Twitter will not listen to it. Listen to the government of India.
Sir, after being prioritized, as the Elon Musk is saying that he is going to promote more free speech on the Twitter. So I think a lot of people who got banned in Twitter from India, like Kangana Ranaut and many other persons, may be returning. And he said that there would be a timeout for them. So that may be one of the change. Secondly, sir, because he wants to make more revenue from Twitter. So basically, he has to follow the directives of the government, because now we also have alternative to Twitter like Coop. So if the directions passed by the government are not followed by him, the door can be shown to Twitter.
Okay, in the recent announcements of the Monetary Policy Committee of RBI, what special things have been done? What significant things?
Sir, I could not follow the minutes of the RBI monetary policy. However, a general trend was there that inflation is increasing, so we need to reduce the repo rate in longer run now, because inflation has already increased. Like WPI has
Reduce the repo rate in the longer run.
Sir, increase the repo rate so as to cater to the inflation.
And what else? They did a very important thing.
So there was also announcement regarding the losses because of the COVID. So they estimated it to be around 50 lakh crore. The government, the country has suffered, and it would be taking around 10 to 12 years for the losses to be recovered.
There was this new thing called SDF. They announced in this.
Sorry, sir, I am not aware of that.
Okay. Now tell me, who governs or regulates the cooperative banks?
So cooperative banks are subjected to dual regulation, one by RBI as well as by the state government.
As well as by the state government. Cooperative banks. But then, if with dual regulation, also many of the cooperative banks have failed in the past.
Yes.
Why?
So, one reason is because the dilution of regulatory power has led to a lot of friction and various gaps in the
Dilution
regulation.
of regulatory power. Why? Why dilution? You are saying there are two bodies regulating the same bank.
So there was a lot of gaps because the jurisdiction was decided between RBI and the state government, and various gaps were there between these two regulations. So naturally, it provided a lacuna. Secondly, sir, a lot of these were not having a direct oversight by the RBI. So various issues were allowed to come up, like we can see in the case of PMC case, PMC bank example, where various irregularities were present. However, RBI could not take a big action because it was not under its control. Thirdly, sir, a lot of banks were seen to have a lot of corrupt practices, and political influence is also very high in these banks.
Okay, thank you.
Ravindra, you seem to be in love with mathematics.
Sir, I'm
Yeah?
familiar. Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
आपने optional subject भी वही चुन लिया, and you teach children also and take a lot of other interests. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
I find it very scary, the numbers and counts. Tell me, how many circles are there to, or how many sides are there to a circle?
Sir, it does not have any side, sir.
It doesn't have?
Yes, sir.
I thought it has two sides, inside and outside.
So if we consider the region in which it is dividing it.
Okay. You were talking of TED Talks.
Yes, sir.
Do you watch and listen to Indian TED Talks also?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Which ones?
So recently I watched a TED Talk given by SDM of Rajasthan, where he talked about some initiatives he had taken at his district level.
So what kind of initiatives?
So he started a survey of teachers in the schools in his area, and the questions were asked like, what kind of what qualities do they think in the what are the qualities of the best teacher do they think, and what were their aspiration of a good school when they were a child. So all these things have helped to develop empathy among the teachers, and the teachers put themselves in the shoes of children, and then the education outcomes have increased a lot.
You never thought of giving a TED Talk? I mean, since you are so keen, and a lot of people are joining in. So have you thought of giving it a TED Talk at some stage?
Definitely, sir. If I achieve something great and if I have something very great to share among the people, I would be willing to give one.
This is already great coming from remote areas, Gonda, and being an IPS officer.
Yes.
This is an achievement. You can inspire so many people. Your journey would be very interesting, I'm sure. With TED Talks, there is something called TEDx Talks.
Yes, sir.
What is that TEDx?
So TEDx are the independent events where people can organize TEDx talks by seeking a license from TED and following the guidelines given by the TED.
They have to take a license?
Yes, sir.
Are you very sure?
Yes, sir.
How do you know?
So I read about it on the website.
Okay, and take license from whom?
So from TED, sir.
Hmm?
TED.
From TED.
The main organization that is in USA and Canada.
Okay, very interesting. Now, what is there is a phrase, popular phrase, walk the talk. What does it mean?
So that means that there should be a coherency between our thoughts and actions and what are words we are speaking.
Very crisp answer, very good. The Supreme Court other day said that governments are duty bound to prevent hate speech. So, firstly, tell me, this was in what context?
Sir, a lot of dharm sansad were organized in the Uttarakhand and in Delhi also, and then in Himachal also, and government had failed to take proactive measures. Although the same person who was on bail in the cases related to hate speech was the speaker. So High Court had said that, and Supreme Court had said that the government should be proactively taking steps. Otherwise, hate speech spirals into a lot of greater mess, which may influence a lot of people.
Good, very good, very good. But tell me, I mean, this is one of the normal and essential duties of the government particularly at the district level. Now, where is the need for Supreme Court to underline it?
So, a lot of petitions were filed in the Supreme Court regarding this because Dham Sansad was said that a Dham Sansad was being organized in Uttarakhand. So, government was not taking any actions to prevent the hate speech that was going to happen there because the same speaker was there who was on bail in a hate speech case. So, government.
Just a kind of warning, reminder. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Now, in a situation of this kind, as an IPS, what would be your role?
Sir, my role is to ensure law and order in the district. So, any activities.
No, tell me specifically what steps you would follow. 1, 2, 3.
Sir, firstly, I can ask the person to remind the person who is giving the speech that he is on a bail, and if any wrong words are uttered by him, he would be given a non-bailable offense then. Secondly, since we do not know the contents of what he is going to speak, we can ask for the transcript of the speech that he may be making. So that may be helpful in saying if the speech would be given a hate speech or not. Thirdly, sir,
I think much greater focus has to be in advance. Well in advance of the declared dates that somebody is going to address a gathering like this, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Making detailed inquiries about the background of the speaker, oblique speakers, and etc.
Yes.
My last question to you relates to MGNREGA. Now, there are a lot of complaints not only in Uttar Pradesh, but so many other states, and including your district, Gonda, that there lot of money is exchanged, money is asked for before the poor people are engaged under MGNREGA, before they are employed under MGNREGA. And all this happens mostly at the village level. Are you familiar with this, or these are not verifiable or not true stories?
Yes, sir. A few of my friends have also told me something similar to that. Like many places, JCBs are brought in to dig holes, and then bogus names are made in the MGNREGA list so that so that the person can get money from MGNREGA fund without employing anyone. Also, we see that people are given the offers that if you do this work, you would be getting, let's say, 10,000 from the government. So, firstly, you have to pay around 2,000 to me, otherwise, you won't be getting anything. So, such things do happen, sir.
Now, how can these be prevented? You would be somewhere in one of these districts. Would you wait for these reports to come to you, or would you do something preemptive on your own? And yes, and if yes, then what would you do?
So a proactive measure has to take place because we are hearing reports like this. So firstly, strict action has to be taken against the contractors who are involving themselves in such things, and their license can also be cancelled so that they are blacklisted from future government
But
product.
mostly these are pradhans and local politicians whom one can't easily, bully or handle, including by police and every, the officers, they are under a lot of pressures.
Yes,
So what best ways? Use of technology,
yes, sir.
some kind of enrollment like employment exchange and things like, so that the employment, the job comes automatically on turn, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So for that, we can use the technology as you are suggesting, sir.
Yeah.
Secondly, we need awareness from the people themselves, and we need to provide effective and strong grievance redressal system. And a citizen charter should also be made aware among themselves, so that if they feel anything is wrong with them or anything is wrong going with the business, they can directly complain, and that complaint can be monitored online, so that there is effective disposal of complaints.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ravindra, I expect you to give brief answers.
Sure, sir.
Can I take it that you are no longer interested in IFS?
IFS? No, sir. I'm
You're not,
interested.
only IAS.
So I'm interested in IFS.
You are interested. So that becomes number 2 reference now, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You are fond of playing cricket.
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that we should scrap or ban IPL? Because in IPL it's all money game and everybody plays for money. In test matches you play for your country and bring recognition. So what is your view on this? Should IPL be banned?
So I don't think IPL should be banned because of the positives it brings. Firstly, a lot of money is given to the BCCI by the IPL, around 3,500 crores per year revenue is generated. So that helps BCCI to run the domestic tournaments like Ranji and make salaries, to give salaries to the various cricketers. Secondly, sir, IPL provides a platform for various domestic cricketers to emerge. Like this IPL, we are seeing the example of Umran Malik was clocking 150 km per hour speeds, and this can be a national prospect also. Thirdly, sir, it also provides a good brand value to India, and soft power is also increasing. Like I was seeing a comparison where IPL is now one of the top most valued franchise sport among the nations.
Okay, good. What is the role of artificial intelligence in GPS navigation system?
So a lot of data sets are created by this GPS data, and that data sets can be utilized by the artificial intelligence to know the predictable path that is taken by a commuter. So for that, a more efficient path can be provided, and that can be anticipated, so that the demand that is increasing during a particular time of day can be anticipated and it can be tackled.
Okay. See, as cooperative societies is a subject
Yes, sir.
which exists in the state list. It's a state subject. How is it that despite this, Union of India has created a department of cooperative? Later, the name was changed to cooperation because there were too many protests for this, intrusion into state territory.
Sir, we can see several other ministries also, like Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, where the subjects are there in state. However, central government has made a ministry.
But they must be in concurrent list. But cooperative societies are a state subject.
Yes. So for the reason is that firstly it gives a lot of guidance to the policy that can be made by the states, and the amount of sometimes research is required so that these cooperatives can function more effectively, and central government has a budget to support the research, and then a lot of grants are also being given by the central government to the cooperatives. That would be requiring a ministry to oversee.
Now that IFS is your number 2 preference, one last question.
Yes.
How do you see the future of present ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine? And what is its message to India? Is India supposed to learn some lessons from it? Briefly tell me.
Sir, at the end, sir, I think Ukraine has to be divided into two parts, one region controlled by Russia and one region controlled by the West. So lessons for India would be the operational and the logistics issue that is present in the defense has to be addressed, because Russia was having a lot of great military. However, the logistics failed them hugely. Secondly, sir, we can see that many nations won't be coming to the rescue of India if it is attacked by China, as we were seeing in the case of Ukraine. So we have to be more Atmanirbhar in our defense supplies and make strategy preparing more holistically, considering
Okay.
that we can be attacked from
We have
all
forgotten about Atmanirbhar Bharat, because there is a disruption of supply chain. Supplies of coal and many other items are getting disturbed, dislocated. So don't you think that it's a message to India to get to become Atmanirbhar, self-reliant?
So message has been received by the COVID itself, and we had launched the Atmanirbhar project for that, so that our resilience increases and we are not entirely dependent on the foreign supply chains. And for that, various initiatives have also been taken place. Like we were seeing a semiconductor and chips shortage during the COVID times, and for that, PLI scheme has been launched. Similarly, defense equipments were imported a lot, so for that also negative list has come.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so Ravindra, we will take you back to the waiting room for a while and we'll call you back for your feedback. Just
Thank you,
wait
sir.
for it.
Thank you. Jai Hind, sir.
Okay.
Come. Have a seat, Ravindra.
Thank you, sir.
So, Ravindra, when is your interview fixed?
10th May, sir.
10th May. So, you still have about a week. Is it now? Last time, how many marks did you get in the interview?
171.
171. Okay. So, tell us, how do you think you fared at this interview, mock interview, which lasted for about 20-25 minutes?
So, acha, this one also.
This one, mock interview.
I think it went pretty well, sir. It was okay.
Okay. So, Ravindra, first of all, let me analyze your performance. There are three parts to the performance. One is the knowledge part, the other is skills part, third is the attitude. Okay. And all the three areas, one should be able to come out very well in 20 minutes time, because that is the time you will get. So, your knowledge base is very good. Your knowledge was not only limited to the first question, but also the supplementaries when they were put to you, you came out exceedingly well. So that part is absolutely fine. About the communication skills, even though you possess good communication skills, but the energy and the forthrightedness, the modulation, the intonation, that is required slightly.
Yes, sir.
So don't, this the appearance was that there was less energy in your thing. And since you have a very strong knowledge base, why should you, dilute that by having less energy? Speak with much more enthusiasm and energy and intonation and modulation.
Yes,
Your
sir.
structuring of sentence is fine. Choice of words is also fine. Answers were to the point, crisp, and at no point did we find that they were very long. They were absolutely in order. So everything is fine. Only that small spark which is required is your speaking. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Your attitude is absolutely positive. There is nothing wrong in it. But if you improve upon your this slightly speaking, then attitude will also, because you are now an IPS officer, more is expected out of you. An IPS officer is expected to display that outwardly exuberance and smartness.
Yes.
And forthrightness. So that alone is required, but otherwise I can say you are very good. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Now coming to some of the specific things. Since you belong to Gonda and Uttar Pradesh, lot many questions will be asked on Uttar Pradesh. For example, whether it should be trifurcated, what is love jihad, and what are the different public policies which have been brought by the present government. And this chief minister, for the second time, it is established a record. Who was the chief minister who served only for a day in Uttar Pradesh? So Jagadambika Pal. So, and then of course must know the entire geography and history of Uttar Pradesh. So the area, the crops, the status of women, the irrigation potential, the institutions, the prominent people of Uttar Pradesh, how many Uttar Pradesh people have made it ultimately as the prime minister of this country, and so on. All these kind of things, connected. Tourism potential,
Yes, sir.
okay. Then the infrastructure. If you were asked to this question, and this is a typical question which comes, supposing you have to sell Uttar Pradesh to a foreigner, how will you, highlight the things which are there so that he puts up an industry in Uttar Pradesh? So there you have to talk about the strengths, weaknesses, threats and opportunities. And when you have to project it, naturally you will talk about the strengths only.
Yes,
But
sir.
you must know the SWOT analysis of Uttar Pradesh. Read a good book on Uttar Pradesh and you will come to know about it. Then the advantage of trifurcation or bifurcation, will it help in any way? The law and order situation in Uttar Pradesh, the policing in Uttar Pradesh, the police commissioner model, is it better or the DM model is better? And some of the cities in Uttar Pradesh also, they have adopted the police commissionary model. And since you are in the IPS, so naturally lot many questions may be asked on that. How will you ensure that the lives of the women and the senior citizens in your district are protected? What arrangements will you make? Police verification, domestic servants verification, and so on. Lighting up the area, and launching of an app. The ladies should be able to inform the police headquarters that they are taking a taxi and they are going. All measures which are, then the police beat and so on. Then police training, whether police training requires any new innovative things, the forensic and technology, or whether it should be the old type. So you have to say that this is how, because the crimes are changing, people are adopting to technology, and therefore in order to detect them, you must be able to come out with the better kind of training for the police personnel. What is an MLR? Okay, such kind of terms can always be asked, since you are already part of the Indian Police Service. Then of course law and order. How will you tackle a law and order? A communal violence. How will you tackle a situation which is developing in your district? What are the preventive measures you will take? What is IPC? What is CRPC? What are the preventive measures which a police commissioner takes or a DM takes under the criminal procedure code? Read all the sections relevant to that. Okay, 107 and 129 and 133 and 144 and 145. Go through the constitution article by article,
Yes, sir.
so that you understand the various functions of president and vice president. How the election to president takes place, you should know. How impeachment can be done of a high court judge, a supreme court judge. What is a public policy? What are the stages of public policy? Because you have given IAS also as one of the preferences. So what are the stages of public policy? So policy formulation to policy evaluation, there are 6 stages. Okay, and why you want to come to the civil service? Well, you are already a part of the civil service. I do not think they are going to ask this kind of question, because you have already entered the civil service. But definitely they can say why you want to go to the Indian Foreign Service as your first preference. So think about some answer in that respect. Then of course you have to understand the world order at the moment, and unipolar, bipolar or multipolar. United Nations and the organizations, its organization, what role they are playing? Is it losing its control over the nations? India, if it wants to become a part of the Security Council permanent member, how will you advocate? Supposing you are given 2 minutes in favor, speaking in favor, then you should prepare on that. Then talking about the Ceylon, the position of Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Bhutan, and then Nepal. So all these relations of India with its neighbors. The 5 principles of the foreign policy of this country, recently enunciated by the foreign minister and foreign secretary. Then of course Russia, Ukraine, that you have understood, that Atmanirbhar Bharat you have already talked about, supply chain disruption. You said that it started with COVID-19, but Atmanirbhar Bharat. So there is a need for going more strongly in favor of Atmanirbhar Bharat, because we are the way we are seeing. So is it running anti-globalization also? Then questions like whether in the UK is repenting coming out of the of the European Union and the Brexit, and whether the United States should have withdrawn itself from the Afghanistan. Everything connected with that you should know. What are the global problems? So the global problems are the COVID-19, climate change, okay, and then drugs, terrorism, AIDS, trade, migration. So you should understand that also. Okay, corruption, which is the least corrupt nation in the world, you should know that. Okay, and where does India stand? How will you root out corruption or at least reduce the corruption? So these are the things. Then you should understand finally the district administration, the role of the Panchayati Raj institutions, the Gram Panchayat, the Panchayat Samiti and the Zilla Parishad. Okay. Role of the collector, there are 4 or 5 roles which you must understand. Revenue administration, magisterial functions, then elections, disaster management and coordination role. Okay. And finally, read the public policies. Public policies pertaining to different sectors of the society. So the women, the children, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, disadvantaged sectors and senior citizens. That's about it. And you have time about 8-10 days. You can always. One last thing which I would say, mathematics is your subject. So simple question may be asked, why there are 360 degrees, in a in a circle. So there are 360 degrees. Why? What is imaginary numbers? What is a natural number? Sometimes we forget the basic definitions. We concentrate on important, more complex things. So understand the basic definition and in the heritage of India in discovering zero and other things you should know. The Aryabhatta and Leelavati and all those things. Okay. Do you have any questions to ask?
Sir, like at the end, I greeted you all with Jai Hind, sir. So I'm also.
There is no need to say Jai Hind. Jai Hind, you might have said because you have joined Indian Police Service. Therefore, you must be tempted to use Jai Hind, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You can simply, the way you had greeted us, in the same way, thank you very much, sir. That's all.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. That's sufficient.
लेकिन जय हिंद की जो स्पिरिट है ना, वो तो आप मतलब चेप मैंने आपको बहुत अच्छी तरह बता दिया है, वो स्पिरिट आनी चाहिए आपकी पूरे इंटरव्यू में. थोड़ा जोश झलकना चाहिए,
जी सर.
है ना. TEDx टॉक सुनते हैं आप वहाँ पे, तो वो जोश आना चाहिए. और मेरा अपना ये मानना है कि जोश आता है सिर्फ एक सिंपल चीज़ से, थोड़ा सा वॉल्यूम अपना बढ़ा दीजिए, बस उसी से ही आपकी वो हो जाएगी, मॉड्यूलेशन बनेगी उसी से जोश झलकेगा.
कॉन्शियसली ऐसे थोड़ा जोश से बोलना पड़ेगा आपको, कि कॉन्शियसनेस आपको दिमाग में रखनी है कि मुझे जोर से बोलना है, मुझे थोड़ा सा मॉड्यूलेशंस के साथ बोलना है.
मिरर के सामने कर लीजिए प्रैक्टिस थोड़ी.
हाँ, सबसे बड़ी बात है.
Or you ask your younger brother or your colleague to sit beside you while you are making a speech before a mirror. That will bring a lot of change in you.
एक और एडवाइस मैं देना चाह रहा था इनको, इकोनॉमी पे आप ध्यान दो. इकोनॉमी के इश्यूज जो है ना, उनको आप थोड़ा अच्छी तरह से देख के ब्रशअप कर लो. इकोनॉमिक पेपर पढ़ते हो कि नहीं साहब? इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स, फाइनेंशियल एक्सप्रेस और इवन ये जो इंडियन एक्सप्रेस अखबार आता है, उसमें भी इश्यूज पे बड़ा अच्छा एनालिसिस आता रहता है टाइम टू टाइम.
And typically what I should be saying that go to and read this year's budget, Economic Survey of India, Niti Aayog website, and also some of the important issues like the Reserve Bank of India has brought about many things like the question which was asked you. So these economic issues, yes, they are very, very important. And now everything is related. The geography is also related to the economics. So the geo-economic issue and geopolitical issues, because you are fond of Indian Foreign Service going to that. So geo-economic and geopolitical issues will also come into that. So economy of this country, yes, that is very important.
एक पॉइंट मैं भी ऐड करना चाह रहा हूँ कि जैसे आपने जवाब में कहा कि यूपी का सेल करना है उसके लिए.
हाँ जी, हाँ जी.
तो आप सर्विंग IPS ऑफिसर हैं, है ना. So you must bring in a point from your career at this stage is कि law and order यूपी का बहुत बढ़िया है और बहुत अच्छे तरीके से इम्प्रूव हुआ है despite UP being such a huge and diverse society, है ना. So you know that's a plus point and speaks from a police perspective. नहीं, तो इसको भी ज़रूर लाइए उसमें. So that shows positivity in your approach, and adds value to your whatever else you are saying in that.
Yes, definitely.
We'll see you as either IFS or IAS officer. So all the best to you.
Thank you.
All the best.
All the very best.
Thank you, sir.